Hi, this is the continuation of my solo campaign featuring From the Ashes. If you haven't seen the other parts of this solo campaign, please check out the link in the description below. It will take you to the playlist of this solo campaign, so you can see the other parts and this video will make more sense. I'm running this solo campaign using Abraham's method, a method that I recently developed to run any adventure module as a solo game master with emulated player characters. The link to that video will also be in the description. So last time, Corvus ended up really wounded because of his combat against the giant slug. So he decided to return to town to recover and spend the many souls that he obtained by killing the slug. I made a roll to see how he would proceed, and I obtained Mesmerize Repulsive Dream. So Corvus would return, trying to mesmerize or trick enemies along the way, repelling encounters. His presence will be like a distant dream in his enemies' minds. Before doing this, Corvus reads the inscription of the nearby bell. It says, "A dawning realization secures my fate." He proceeds to the entrance of the forest, and on his way he reads the inscription of the other bell that he had been avoiding for so long. This one read, "A knight steps through." Corvus proceeds with his original strategy. He removes his plate armor and hides it in the vegetation at the entrance of this forest area, while smearing his clothes with dirt and mud, attaching a few branches for a better camouflage effect. He journeys towards the swamp and arrives there with no trouble. He prepares to cross it and manages to do it without bumping into any dangerous encounter. Once in town, he actually manages to level up twice because of all the souls that he accumulated. And he sold the treasure that he obtained as well to gain more souls and unlocking the insight skill that he remembers from when he was alive. After resting and purchasing a few supplies, he prepares to cross the swamp again. I made a roll and I obtained Explore Holy Agreement. Because of his newfound strength, Corvus is not afraid to walk through the swamp while exploring his surroundings. His actions and thoughts are in agreement. His current quest surely has a holy purpose. He manages to cross the swamp without suffering hazards or dangerous encounters. He arrives to the forested area almost at dusk. He quickly finds, recovers, and puts on the armor that he left in this zone, and he tries to make sense of the inscription on each of the bells. To do this, he makes a roll using his insight skill, and he is successful. He notices that the messages on the bells follow a pattern, or rather a sequence. There are hints hidden within the words of each of the inscriptions. So he decides to ring the bell that hints at dawn, then he rings the bell indicating day, then the third one indicating dusk, and finally the one that hints at night. It's a trick word because it says knight as the armored combatant that serves a lord, but it actually points to nighttime. The moment he rings this night bell, he can hear the forest door opening in the central tree. So he goes back to the central tree and ponders if he should immediately go through the door. I made a roll and I obtained Warn, Repulsive, Wealth. So with his dagger, he carves a number into each of the trees close to the bells in case the door closes, warning travelers of the puzzle and repelling the possibility of error. Corvus is not so interested in keeping any wealth from the hands of other travelers or adventurers. He just wants to escape this limbo. Going into the tree, he climbs a spiral staircase within it. The ascent takes hours until he exits into an ashen landscape. The land, as far as Corvus can see, is black ash, with scattered bones of long-dead giants. In the far distance, cadaverous giants walk aimlessly, while others fight each other, tearing into their putrid flesh with claw-like fingers. The only safe path away from the undead behemoths leads to a titanic skull in the distance. Corvus begins walking towards it. As he approaches the skull, he notices a very strange effect, as if violent thoughts threaten to overwhelm his mind. But he is successful in all of his saving throws, and he finally arrives at the skull, which seems to have been repurposed as a temple of sorts. For a moment, Corvus could have sworn he saw a figure looking down at him from the top of the skull. I made a roll to see how he would proceed, and I obtained Condemned Prodigious Rebellion. Corvus condemns the wretched forces that surely dwell within the skull, and uttering a curse, he proceeds into the skull with a rebellious attitude, wielding his prodigious greatsword. He enters the skull through a gap that once housed one of the skull's front teeth. From inside comes the smell of incense and unknown chemicals, and magical glowing symbols inscribed into the walls light his path towards the interior of the skull. And that's it for today. I'm surprised that Corvus didn't encounter any dangerous enemies when he crossed the swamp twice. He was very lucky, but he's going to get his hands full as he explores the interior of this titanic skull. And it truly is going to be very challenging because Corvus no longer has healing potions, and when he returned to town, I made a roll to see if there was a vendor selling healing potions, and there was no vendor at all. So Corvus will have to proceed carefully, and hopefully he will get some word combinations from the rolls to apply some intelligent strategies and tactics in battle. Well, thanks for watching this session report. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. And thank you so much to those that have been sending DriveThruRPG gift certificates to support the channel. If anyone else wants to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.